Before we get to that, let's quickly address this Rogan thing, because it's kind of important to understand. Number one, that supercut of Rogan using the N-word has been out for a long time. Let's not be naive to this. People don't like how Rogan has a lot of people on and he has long conversations about topics. He gets more views than the typical news, right? And they don't like that guy having that type of power. It's ironic that it's Black History Month and this suddenly comes out in February. It's ironic. And I can understand some of the outrage, because when I hear that word coming out of a white dude's mouth, it kind of sucks, right? So emotionally, it's going to hit Black people emotionally. It's going to hit us emotionally when we just hear it. So there's already a little bit of discomfort there. But context actually is important within that, because every time the guy was using the word, it wasn't he was calling you a. He was using it of like, oh, they said blank, but instead of saying they said the N-word, it's he used the word. Now, he also addressed the Planet of the Apes thing. But again, as much of it was the dumbest joke. Okay, what he said about Planet of the Apes. It was a stupid fucking joke. It really was. But afterwards, contextually, he was still like, he said that it was bad in that specific clip, and then he also said how he had the best time, watching that movie with those people in that community. So this dude isn't fucking racist, but the clip comes out now. It's Black History Month. The other side really doesn't like Rogan having that much power. This shit is, they're trying to make a narrative. They're trying to label him as a racist, and they're probably going to try to find something else in a few months to label him as this and this and this to get the dude canceled. And hopefully people don't totally just buy into it, because that clip looked bad. It really did.
I think Joe Rogan is, he's like a pioneer, I think he's revolutionary in a lot of ways. Like his show, that he started off of like smoking pot and like talking to his friends while he's high and having a good time, has been responsible for communicating a lot of great things to people. It helped increase the activity in jiu-jitsu, which like you might think, oh, well, what's the big deal with that? Well, it's exercise. People need to exercise. People need to strengthen their body, mind, and spirit. He's done so much for low-carb diets, keto-style diets, longevity. I mean, just the amount of guests that he's had on talking about a lot of the things that we talk about here. They're just spin-offs of stuff we've heard on Joe Rogan many, many times over. And all the other podcasts are just spin-offs of a lot of things that Joe Rogan has really done just a ridiculously amazing job. So I actually think that it's hard to like really figure out who you can look up to these days, but after meeting him and feeling like I know him pretty well, and I know people that are in his inner circle, I have legitimately never heard anyone say anything bad about Joe Rogan. That doesn't mean that he's never done anything bad. I'm just saying I believe that he's a person that I can put some value in towards looking up to, especially when it comes to things like work ethic. And he seems like an amazing family man. Again, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors, but he's got 4 kids. He's got a wife. He seems like he's got a lot of that stuff figured out, and he seems pretty awesome to me.
Yeah, when people disagree with somebody, when something happens, people want to dogpile without using critical thinking. And especially in this specific situation with how ugly that video is, people really need to think critically. How is this being used to shape my thoughts towards this individual? Because there's certain parts of the media that want you to hate this dude, and they want you to label him as a racist or as when you hate trans people, homophobic. But there's a specific one when you hate trans people.
Sure. I'll just say transphobic.
Transphobe, because he's been labeled as a transphobe before too, and he's not. It's like people just try to throw that shit at people, and it's disgusting. It's disgusting.
It just sounds so ridiculous to like you hate someone because they're gay. Like you hate it. It makes sense to like disagree with somebody on what they're doing or what their choices are, and it makes sense to say, oh man, I could just never see that for me. Or if you think it's odd, right? I mean, it's like, okay, well, maybe it actually is a little bit odd because maybe a lower percentage of people choose that route. So maybe it's not the norm. I don't think you're trying to be, but what doesn't make sense is to like go after or attack or harm or hurt, or some of the things we heard from World's Strongest Gay when we had him on the podcast. Him and his husband have had people throw stuff at them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like yell shit out the window. I mean, can you imagine like you're walking down the street with your girlfriend and you're holding her hand and they yell heterosexual, like, you know what I mean? Like,
you fucking hetero.
Yeah.
Like,
it just doesn't make like none of that.
No.
It just, like that sounds so ridiculous. Right. But that's what we're doing when we're kind of being discriminatory towards this like one way of thinking or living your life. I mean, if people are happy, I mean, why? How is it encroaching or infringing upon you?
Power Project family, how's it going? Now on this podcast, Mark, Andrew, and I, we talk about fasting a lot. We talk about the ketogenic diet and a lot of different types of diets, but Bubs Naturals has a product. They have the collagen protein, which is amazing. They have these apple cider vinegar gummies, which are like crack, but they have
they have these
MCT oil powder packets that I've never used to do this, but in the morning I'll wake up and I'll put it in coffee, and the smoothness, number one, in terms of the mixing is amazing, but the consistency of my energy through the day because of the MCT oil powder is peak. Andrew, how's your experience with it?
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. It's like the best way to start the day. You're satiated, you're energized, and you're just ready to crush the day. So if you guys want to get in on this MCT oil powder, head over to bubsnaturals.com and at checkout, enter promo code PowerProject to save 20% off your entire order. Again, Bubs Naturals, promo code PowerProject to save 20% off. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes. Yeah, it's not. What I was going to say is like somebody broke it down on Twitter, like a whole timeline of everything about all these things coming one after another. Because you said like, oh, how convenient, it's Black History Month. We're going to put out this like, or highlight this N-word reel. Well, all this stuff happened at the perfect time. First, it was like the misinformation or whatever. And then the government all of a sudden wants to shut them down. And then even the first guy, the musician, old guy.
Yeah, who they got?
Something. He has a name.
Neil
Young. Neil Young. That came out.
Pieced it together
at the right time, and he happens to be sponsored by a certain company that has like some vested interest in making sure that like the medicines are still being put into people, and there's just a lot of things. Where
and then India
like,
Ari, who I love her music, she before this she took all her music off because of the supercut of Joe using the N-word, you know, and it's unfortunate.
But what this guy broke down, he was just like, if you're curious how this actually all went down, this is why, and he breaks it down each day, like what's going on and how like different people are attacking him all at once, or not at once, but like at the perfect time.
Yeah.
So it's just like, damn, like he really is making a huge impact if he has like an all-out fucking full court press on him right now. It's fucking crazy.
All of us need to go back into our libraries in terms of the things that we've put on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and we need to audit, because to be perfectly honest, it doesn't matter if you're someone who's well known, you better go check that shit out. But honestly, in the future, if you're not doing stuff on media, right, you still need to be careful about the shit you say, because there's going to be a point where that stuff is going to be looked up for when you're trying to apply for a job, when you're trying to do anything. There's going to be
like a rating, you know, like
exactly.
Black Mirror, right?
Yep.
There's going to be an easier way for people to dig up the shit that you've said or blurbed in the past, because right after The Rock started flaming Joe Rogan, people found when The Rock said that tranny thing on his Twitter, and it's like, bruh. Contextually back then, it wasn't weird making those jokes, and we get how those jokes are wrong now. But guys, like, even if something's ugly, we got to look at context. Thomas Jefferson or Abraham Lincoln, like those guys, the leaders of the country back then, many of them were slave owners. And although like that is horrible, like that can't even be excused, like, but we need to understand contextually back then, as horrible as slavery was, that was part of the norm of building America.
Well, and do you think that Abraham Lincoln had extra love in his heart for people that were black?
And Abraham Lincoln tried to abolish.
Well, or is it a political matter, and he's the president of the United States, and he's got to make a decision that he feels is maybe in the best interest of the country, but also in the best interest of himself.
There's that flip side. You're totally right.
I mean, it's who knows how he felt. It's hard to know. I think we just place way too much value in people independently. So whether you're talking about an influencer or influencer, like that's way too strong of a word.
But it's the truth.
But it is the truth. I know.
Yeah,
I know.
A lot of you were an influencer.
I know.
Like it's sad. Like it sucks to say, but
yeah. Well, and the people that I have the most like influence over, I'm so comfortable with that. The people that are close to me, the people that know me, and so I almost feel like I could go out and say just about anything because of how strong and secure I feel within my own inner circle. But I know that I can't. Don't worry, Andrew. Don't worry. Andrew's like ready to hit the button. Beep. No, I know that I can't. But do you guys know what I mean? Like I feel so comfortable, like with my own family and with some of my own friends, that I know that I can communicate with you guys in whatever way I need to. And then if I do fuck up, just like any one of us, we can go back and say, "Hey, man, I didn't fuck, dude. I didn't mean to say it that way. I wasn't trying to like bum you out. I didn't realize that was such a hot button topic for you, or whatever it is, right? You can go back and like communicate further. But I think that the influence that people have over people is too great. But we're going to see it continue to increase because there's so many people out there with hundreds of thousands of millions of followers, and these followers, they get so into the exact words the guy says. But if I'm listening to Thomas DeLauer and I'm getting nutritional information, I'm not overly concerned with how he runs the rest of his life or where he spends his money. If I'm a huge fan of Christian Guzman, I'm not going to be, I'm influenced by him because I love his nutrition style. But now I'm all pissed off because he bought a new car or something like that. You know what I mean? So our value assignment to people, I think, is a little too high.
Yeah.
And the stuff that you can get from people and get kind of out of people, which is kind of a shitty way to word it, but that's the way that you should kind of view it. And if you can't get much more, like I'm not worried about how The Rock lives his life, but I want to follow The Rock shit because it's motivating. To me, it's motivating. I find some value in checking out his page and seeing, fuck, man, all right, he already trained today or whatever it is, and then maybe I get my butt moving for the day.
Hey, little mama, let me whisper in your ear. Like, comment, subscribe to the channel because we continue to bring you peak content on this channel. Obviously, you guys are here. You guys have watched the whole video. So like, comment, subscribe. All right. See you later.